All right, guys, let's go ahead and start with our second part of our European history test review. Hopefully, this time you're reviewing. Let's go ahead and start. This review is going to be pretty easy because we're going to keep on repeating the same thing probably 20 times. But let's start with the Cold War. Cold War started in 1945 to 1991. Cold War, there was no direct fighting, but it was more of a proxy war where United States and Soviet Union wasn't really going to war in their land, but they were using different country to go to war. And of course, they were also expanding their military, trying to expand their science. So of course, when it comes to Cold War, there was few things that was important, like space race. Who's going to get through space? Who's going to land to the moon first? And of course, arms race. Who's going to, of course, expand when it comes to nuclear power? Who's going to be the superpower? Who's gonna come out on top? That was the main concern when it comes to Cold War. The two superpower, United States and Soviet Union, communism when it comes to Soviet Union, and of course, capitalism and democracy when it comes to United States. So these two superpowers, of course, influence the world everywhere. Now, Germany specifically, because this is where we're learning about. When it comes to Germany, Germany was divided into, of course, two. Go ahead and say the phrase: West is the best, East is the worst. When it comes to West Germany was controlled and, of course, given aid by United States, of course, France and United Kingdom, but West Germany was democratic. West Germany had democracy. People could vote. People had rights. But when it comes to East Germany, of course, was controlled by Soviet Union. They had what we called communism. Again, West is the best, East is the worst. Best, when it comes to best, is the West. West Germany was controlled by United States democracy, and again, East Germany, the worst, communism, and of course controlled by Soviet Union. Now, Berlin Wall was built to stop the East Germans from escaping the West to go to the, of course, to go to the West. So East Germans at this time was, of course, they wanted to live the lifestyle as the West German. They wanted to have fancy car. They wanted good job. People wanted to escape. And of course, we learned that people, the soldiers, were guarding the border of the East Germany and West Germany in that Berlin Wall. Now, quick question. There's this thing, invisible line. This is not for Germany, but this is for when it comes to the whole Europe. Berlin Wall separated Germany, but this thing separated Europe. What was it? The Iron Curtain. Perfect. Iron Curtain separated again the Eastern Europe and the Western Europe. Again, West is the best, East is the worst. West Europe controlled by democracy. East Europe, of course, controlled by communism. When it comes to Berlin Wall, it was a symbol of separatism when it comes to East and West. And of course, division of Germany was symbol of Cold War because you could literally see Cold War happening in that one country. West Germany, United States, East Germany, Soviet Union. Now, fall of Berlin Wall. 1989, East Germans protested for Soviet control. They did not like the Soviet control. They wanted the democracy. People were fed up, and Berlin Wall was destroyed. And of course, in class, we watched the little speech that, of course, at that time, the East Germany messed up, and he panicked and said, "We can go ahead and start this immediately," where he wasn't really supposed to, of course, take the Berlin Wall down. But regardless, great thing happened where Berlin Wall was destroyed, and the people from the east was rejoiced with the people from the west. The street art showed how people wanted reunification. You could even come to Swanee downtown. There is a whole monument when it comes to Berlin Wall. And there is an American flag and a jet to signify how people wanted freedom, how people thanked democracy at that time. Now, when it comes to the fall, Soviet Union losing control in Eastern Europe played the huge role when it comes to the fall of the Berlin Wall. The reason why Berlin Wall fell was because Soviet Union fell. Soviet Union collapsed. They were using money when it comes to arms race. They were using money when it comes to space race. They couldn't care about Germany. They were losing money every day. And we talked about this in class when it comes to communism. We talked about, of course, North Korea. We said we're going to talk about Cuba. But when it comes to communism, we even talked about Adolf Hitler. We talked about Soviet Union back then with Lenin. Communism never worked. That's why even North Korea, we asked, do you guys want to go to North Korea? No. So eventually, Soviet Union had to fall. They changed their country to more of a democratic over there, emphasize on more on the democratic side, giving people, of course, right to vote, giving people hope. Now, collapse of Soviet Union again. Soviet Union collapsed into 15 countries, guys. So the cause, economic problem, the protests, and Gorbachev had reforms where he allowed people to vote and of course allowed people to voice their opinion more. And when it comes to collapse of Soviet Union, it means now the Iron Curtain has fallen. Communism has fallen in Eastern Europe. Now all the European country can choose for themselves. Do they want to be democratic? Whatever way they want to decide, they get to decide at this time. So again, collapse of Soviet Union, Soviet Union falling, of course, direct result to Berlin Wall falling as well. So the only reason Berlin Wall fell again because Soviet Union fell. Quick question: what is the best? West? What type of government? Democracy. Good work. All right, now, end of Cold War. You see, of course, Soviet Union and America shaking hands. The signifying end of the Cold War. Berlin Wall fell, 1989. Germany, of course, reunified. Soviet Union collapsed, 1991. And together, the Cold War ended. And the fight between the democracy and communism, of course, is still going on, but not in a way where Cold War was happening, where we were going a proxy war in every country imaginable. We'll be talking about Cuban Missile Crisis in a second, but man, Cold War was definitely interesting. So again, final review. Cold War was battle between United States and USSR. It wasn't an actual war in United States nor Soviet Union, but it was more of a proxy war where they used other country to go to war. Basically, hint hint, big example, Germany. Germany was divided into two. Berlin Wall was, of course, symbol for division. West of Germany was controlled by democratic United States, and the Eastern Germany controlled by communist Soviet Union. The wall fell in 1989 because of the fact that Soviet Union, of course, was getting weaker and weaker. They couldn't care less for, of course, the Germany when it comes to them spending money in space race and arms race. There's no way they're going to care about Germany when their country is falling. So of course, eventually Berlin Wall fell because Soviet Union was falling. Germany reunified in 1990, and in 1991 Soviet Union fully collapsed, which ends the Cold War. All right, man. I hope you study. I mean, it was pretty easy, West versus East, West being democracy, East being communist, people, of course, escaping East, going to the West, the Iron Curtain, invisible line, not the physical line. And of course, the Cold War, space race, who's going to the moon first, who's developing more scientific weapon, atomic bomb, nuclear weapon. I don't know. I feel like you guys are going to do well. You guys been doing good. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope you guys study Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're gonna take the test on Thursday. Appreciate y'all. Oh my goodness. All right, man. The code. There's no code for this one. You know what? Why not? Code is persistent. Have a good day.